All right, hello there, thrill seekers. Thought has no answers. I want to talk about that phrase and where it comes from and what it means after a 20-second tribute to the late Ozzy Osbourne. All right, that was the guitar riff from the Black Sabbath song Into the Void, played surf style and in my own idiom. And that's my little tribute to the late Ozzy Osbourne, one of my favorite rock and roll guys. I got a bunch of Ozzy or Black Sabbath books on my shelf. There's one. There's a few others. Oh, this one's really great. This one's crazy. This is Experiencing Black Sabbath. This is the most scholarly, weird, detailed book you could ever read about Black Sabbath. I can't even get through it. But it's crazy how much research this guy did. Anyway, I've been a fan of his for a long time, and it was sad to see him go. All right, so here's what's going on. I'm putting out this video called Thought Has No Answers. Why? You may ask. I always hate it when people do these rhetorical questions. Why? Because I hate it when people do rhetorical questions. Anyway, so that's... some of you have heard that I have decided not to go to Europe this year to do the usual retreats that I have scheduled in Finland, Germany, and England. I have asked my friend Shozan Jack Haubner of the Zen Confidential YouTube channel, which I had him sub for me last week. You may have seen him there. He's the author of the books Zen Confidential, which is called Zen Berserker in German, and Single White Monk. He was a monk at Mount Baldy Zen Center, which is over there somewhere behind me, for 13 years under the tutelage of Joshu Sasaki Roshi. He was a head monk there. He led lots of Zazen retreats. He's a good guy and probably the best possible substitute anybody could find for me, because his attitude towards Zen is very like mine. So I hope that those of you who signed up for the retreats will still go. I'm still working on the logistics of whether Shozan will actually substitute. He's not going to substitute in Finland, but we're still talking to Germany and England about this. But even if I am not there, I really do hope that people go to these retreats. Now, the reason is something I don't really want to talk about. I hate it when people overshare their medical stuff on public platforms like YouTube, and there's so much of that out there, and I just don't like it, and I don't want to be one of those guys. But circumstances have kind of forced me into it. The short version is I went into the emergency room in June at my local hospital for a kidney stone attack. You guys have probably heard me talking, if you've watched my videos recently, about the kidney stone problem. And while I was there, they discovered another issue with me that is serious and needs to be treated. And the treatments, it's been kind of this back and forth for a while about exactly what treatments I should receive. And there have been like tons of tests, and they've been annoying, and I've hated every one of them. But I've gotten tested and photographed, and my insides photographed, and all kinds of stuff so many times. The course of treatment that has been decided after all this testing and photographing and stuff is that I will receive weekly treatments for a while. I don't know. I assume a few months. And after these treatments are done for a few months, then they'll take another look at me, and if it's necessary, I will have surgery, and if it's not necessary, I will be free to go, a free man. So it doesn't look like I'm going to die from this, but this is the sort of thing that is very serious. So like I don't want to downplay it that much, but it looks like the prognosis is good. So don't fret about me. But let me tell you why I'm telling you all this. Well, I'm telling you all this because some of you maybe signed up for those retreats in Europe, and some of you are probably wondering. But the other reason is One of my favorite books of about Zen of all time is called Each Moment is the Universe by Dainin Katagiri. One of my all-time favorite books. It is a book that's mainly concerned with the Buddhist concept of time, and it's just a great book. In that book, there is Katagiri Roshi tells a story about when he was at some Zen temple. I believe it was Eiheiji. Let's just say it was Eiheiji. That's the head temple of the Soto Soto sect of Zen. It was a temple that was established by Dogen in the 1200s and now serves as their big head temple. So when Katagiri Roshi was there as a monk doing his training, they had a big earthquake, like a really, Japan is very earthquake-prone country, and this was a big one. And Katagiri Roshi says that you'd expect a bunch of Zen monks to be very orderly and calm, and everything would be nice, and they'd know exactly what to do. But no, that isn't what happened at all. He said that they were scrambling for shelter, including Katagiri Roshi himself, and just trying to get to the big trees. I've been to Eiheiji. There's huge trees there, and they kind of went to the big trees for shelter to get out of the temple. He said there was one guy who was in the bath. I think it was one of the teachers there, and he was like, "Don't bother me now. I'm taking a bath," and he just stayed in his bath. So he might have been the most Zen guy of all. But the point that Katagiri Roshi was making is we don't always know how we're going to react to a scary situation, a difficult situation, and often we find ourselves, even if we've got loads of Zen training, not reacting in the most exemplary of manners. Is that the word I want to use? So that's kind of what happened to me when I first got this news. I didn't take it as you might hope, as I might hope, like, oh, I do not mind. This is my karma, and I will simply allow it to be. That wasn't how I took it at all. I kind of freaked out. It was difficult. When I was in the hospital for the first time, my headaches, because of the tension of not only going to the emergency room for this kidney stone problem, which was a massive infection. I guess it was sepsis, but they caught it before it did any real damage. But so I was pretty sick, and to get this other news dumped on me on top of that, it created such a headache that by the end of the 5 days in the hospital, my scalp was actually kind of burning from how tense my muscles had gotten. And, it's been on and off. It's been a roller coaster ride for the past it's been a month or so since I learned this. Mostly lately my mood has been pretty good, and I've kind of settled into it, especially now understanding what they want to do, the doctors, that is. That I'm fairly okay, but I still have moments. Like last night, I had a moment for an hour or so when I was like, "Oh my God!" These things just happen. They are the result of karma is the word I want to use as a Buddhist. It's the result of habits and things that you've formed over the years of how you react to stuff. And I especially, my personal habit of reacting to anything that has to do with health is to overreact. And this has a lot to do with the way my mother died. Some of you are already aware of this. My mother had Huntington's disease, which is just one of the worst things you could ever possibly have, really a bad disease. And it went on for decades, and it's also a potentially hereditary condition. So not only was I freaked out and upset about what was going on with my mom, I was freaked out and upset by what could possibly be going on with me. Like when I was looking at what was happening to my mom, I'm going, was that my future? So it developed a very strong habit of reacting to any sort of health issues in probably a more... I react to them more than most people. I think I probably seem like a hypochondriac to people who know me well. I'm not a debilitating hypochondriac, but I do check my temperature and do all kinds of stuff that it took me years to find out. Oh, normal people don't do that. Normal people don't just check their temperature all the time on random days. Anyway, stuff like that. So the point I'm trying to make, and I do promise I will get there, is that there have been a number of times in the past month or so when my mind starts going, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? What about the thing that could happen? Where's the future going? And I discovered this little mantra. I don't know if it's mantra is really the word because I'm not repeating it over and over like a mantra, but a little phrase that has helped me out of it. And that's why I'm sharing this little phrase with you. And that phrase is, thought has no answers. Now, strictly speaking, that isn't absolutely true because there are things that we can think through and get answers to them. If you have a math problem, you can think it through and get an answer. If you have an engineering problem, this is how engineering problems are usually solved. My brother-in-law is he's a software engineer, and I'm sure he spends a lot of his days thinking through software problems and coming up with the right solution and then testing it out, and there you go. You can think through your schedule that you're for your vacation, and my wife is great at this, and we've taken several vacations where she's planned them out and things have gone according to plan usually, and it works out great. So there are things that thought has solutions for. The problem is, because thought is so good at solving problems like that, we think that thought can solve a problem like, what's going to happen to me during these treatments? Or am I going to have a lot of pain? Am I going to be unable to do my work? And, these things that I'm telling you what's going on personally in my head. And thought has no answers to those problems. In fact, I would say that in general, for most of the problems we encounter in life, thought has no answers. It's just that it works really, really well in that certain area, like I've told you, like a math problem or an engineering problem or a scheduling problem. There's probably a lot of others you could come up with where thought can come up with a good answer. So it works really well. We put a guy on the moon, several times by thinking through how to do it and doing it and making it happen. But there are many more, as I said, problems for which thought has no answers. And so whenever I find myself getting, sort of latched on to some loop of thought, because this is habitual, it just comes up. When I find myself getting latched onto some loop of thought about what's going to happen, oh my God, where's it going to go? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to support my wife and keep doing the videos? And when I find that happening, I tell myself, thought has no answers. So there's no answer to those kind of questions to be found in thought. It's not the kind of thing you can think through and come up with an answer to it. So there's no point. There's just no point in ruminating on it. And this makes it easier for me to open the hand of thought, as Kosho Uchiyama said in his famous book, Opening the Hand of Thought, and just let it go. And sometimes the thought will start looping, 10 or 20 seconds later, and I'll have to tell myself that again. I've gotten better over the past few weeks, so I get, I probably only have to tell myself this once or twice during a typical zazen. I'm probably exaggerating. Maybe I can get through a whole zazen now without ever having to tell myself that. But for a while I couldn't. And I just thought it was a good phrase, and I thought maybe other people out there might be able to use it. Just when you find yourself ruminating over some kind of problem that thought can't answer, that's not a scheduling problem or a math problem or something that an engineering problem or one of these problems that thought can come up with an answer to, when it's more of a life problem or what's going to happen to me problem or where's this going or what's my future hold and all that stuff, just remind yourself, thought has no answer. It just doesn't have an answer. It's not saying thought is bad necessarily. It's not saying thought is whatever. It just doesn't have an answer. So there isn't an answer in thought for problems like that. So there you go. It's a short one today. That's what she said. I'll see how many of these videos I can make. My treatments start in August. It's now, July 28th. So my treatments start in about a week, I think. I don't know if they're going to be such that it makes it difficult for me to do the videos or not. I've been told by my mother-in-law, who's had similar treatments, that they're not actually that bad. That all the stories you've read about how these kind of treatments were back in the 70s and 80s, they've refined them a lot, and when she went through it, it was actually not that bad. So I hope it's not that bad for me too. But as I said, thought has no answer. So thought it doesn't have an answer for how bad it's going to be for me, but I hope it isn't. And for all of you, there's rumors have been leaking around, and people keep sending me messages saying, how are you feeling? And I get a lot of that. I'm feeling fine. If I hadn't gone to the hospital and had this exam, I doubt I would know anything was wrong. So thank gosh for the emergency room visit where they found this, and the competent doctors at Kaiser Hospital in Ontario who did a little bit of extra work and went, hey, what about this? So that's really good, and I feel fine. So hoping I still keep feeling fine for a while, but we'll see. As I said, thought has no answers for that. So if you want to donate to me, and by the way, the insurance that I have right now has been covering things, so if it comes down to me needing to do a telethon and ask for extra donations, I will do that, but for the time being, it's okay, although my donation trend in general has been sagging a little bit, so for whatever that's worth. But I do appreciate your donations, and they are my main means of support still. And if you want to donate to me, you can go to the URL that you're about to see on the screen below, or that you're about to hear if you're listening to the audio version, and that is hardcorezen.info/donate. hardcorezen.info/donate. That's where you'll find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts, and as I say, those are my main way of making a living, and I appreciate your support. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to, even with all this going on. All right, just knock something over. All right, we'll see you again. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Ziggy Boo, how you doing? I'm glad you're feeling okay. You've been a good support for me over the last few weeks. I really appreciate it. Ziggy, look at me. Look at the camera, buddy. Okay. Talk to you later, Ziggy. Bye. Cute.